Today's lesson is about forgiveness. Have you ever got into a spat or a tiff or an argument with a sibling, particularly when you were younger? Your mom or dad says, y'all kiss and make up, shake hands, hug. Never had that happen to you. Yet, and ask each other to forgive each other. And after you did that, you were immediately happy, weren't you? No. In fact, sometimes it makes it worse when you're forced to forgive someone and you're not ready. So wait a minute, Dave. How is it that we can't be ready to forgive when the Bible tells us that we can't go to heaven if we don't forgive? That's confusing to me. Is that confusing to you? Because there are other scripture readings or lessons or stories that tell us that forgiveness is simply not that simple. And particularly, the measure of forgiveness is harder the heavier the hurt to the heart. Okay? In fact, forgiveness goes through 4 phases or steps before you actually, quote, get there. The first step is hatred or deep anger. Have you ever had anger so much that you fumed and went off to your bedroom? I'll just show Mom I'm not forgiving my sister or brother, no matter how long it takes. I'm going to stay mad as long as I can. Well, that anger comes from the next phase of hurt. And when I say hurt, the hurt was there to begin with, but you don't really get to the point of recognizing or realizing or even admitting you're hurt. So your first step is anger or hatred. And then when you start admitting to yourself, I'm hurt by what you did. Now, the reason you can hurt is because you had a relationship or an expectation from somebody to treat you a certain way. When I was 12 years old, 3 of my favorite aunts, we used to get together at my grandmother's house for Sunday dinner. And I don't know what it was about, and no one ever did tell us what it was about, meaning all of the cousins. There were 21, but these 3 aunts got into an argument and left and went their separate ways, because where my grandmother lived was on one hill, and the one aunt lived on this hill over here, and the other aunt lived on the a hill across the way. And the youngest one lived in Shady Springs, so they all got into their cars and left. We never did understand why. That was 1971. They never spoke to each other. The one on the other hill never spoke to these 2, and these 2 finally, after a while, commiserated. You know what that means? That means they both sat around and talked about how hurt they were about what that other sister did. And they talked about that for years. And if you dared bring it up to them at family reunions, why aren't y'all ever speaking? Will you? None of your business. The hurt and anger was still there. Are y'all ever going to get to forgiving each other? None of your business. They used to all 3 go together with some of the other their first cousins to vacations, but that stopped that year. Well, 1971 all the way to 2013. Do you realize that's like over 40 years? The one sister had cancer and she had gotten over it. And then in March of 2013, she kept saying, Y'all need to come see me. Y'all need to come see me. Finally, I agreed to one of the aunts. I'll take you down there to see. Well, when we got down there, she wanted to forgive because she was dying. Her cancer had come back. She died that week. And for years, since 2013, my other aunt says, I'm so glad you took me down there because we'd have never made up. So here's what happens is you have to heal. So hate, hurt, and heal. Now, healing, you say, what does healing look like? Well, first of all, it's getting over the anger. Second of all, it's getting over the hurt. And healing helps to get to this point. Understanding the other person. So it might take you years to process all of that before you can get to the point where you have healed, or at least healed enough to say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I still hurt. But I'm no longer angry. And so I can say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you're human and I'm human. And so I'm going to speak forgiveness. It doesn't mean that what you did was right. It doesn't mean that I feel good about it. But I can say it finally. Do you know anybody in the Bible like that who carried deep hurt for years before they could say, I'm sorry? Joseph. We don't know how, I don't know right offhand. I know it was probably a decade or more that he was hurting from being sold into slavery. And when his brothers finally came to him, he began finally being able to hatch a plan on saying, figuring out how he could say, I forgive you. In fact, I got over the hurt long ago, but I need to say, I forgive you. But it was such a deep hurt and involved just his family. He said, make everybody go away. It's just between us. I'm sorry. What happened, God made better out of it for us all, but I'm sorry. So forgiveness is tough, but it can happen. And just because it's taking time doesn't mean you aren't forgivable. Okay? You can go back to your.
Thank you, Scott. We appreciate that very much. As I told you earlier in our prayer request, Marie was not able to be here today to have special music. She is under the weather. And so we will skip that and move right into our scripture reading, which will be Jeremiah 29:11. Jeremiah 29:11. It says, let's see here. Actually, I know that from, it says, yeah, it's a typo. It's a typo. Thank you. Just 1 second here, please. For I know the thoughts that I think toward you, saith the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. At this point, we really appreciate Chris driving down here today, about 200 miles, and we're so glad he's here safely with us, and we look forward to you sharing your message with us today and telling us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Okay, let's try it now. I have a built-in microphone too, so. All right, I'm excited to be here. First of all, I want to look out. I want to see everybody big, beautiful smile because, hey, we're here to worship God. So let's be excited and be excited to be in church. I'm an evangelist and I'm doing personal ministry right now, waiting on a call from a conference to go pastor some churches. But right now I'm traveling around. I'm doing different seminars, training churches for outreach and things like that. And I worked with Preston in Pennsylvania, so I'm going to open up with a funny story about Preston. Now, I love your pastor, Preston. Me and him's very close. We work together very well. He's one of the smartest theologians. You have one of the smartest pastors I've ever worked with, but he also takes things literally. So I'm going to tell you a story about when I first met Preston. That way everybody can get in a good mood and smile. So we met for the first time, and I went out and was doing Bible studies in the community because that's one of my big things is to get involved in the community, design programs that is good for the community, that makes people want to come into your church. So usually if I'm going to train a church, the first thing I ask them is, if I close your church down today, would anybody care? And the answer is probably no. I mean, you guys would care, but would anybody in the community say, I wish that those Seventh-day Adventists were still here because they offered this program, that program, this program, and they always had something going on? And the answer is usually no, because we're not designing our calendars and we're not putting things in it that is going to attract people from the community. And so that's usually what I ask people. But I go out and I give Bible studies and I mail out Bible study cards and do things like that. And we bring people in and we hold evangelistic meetings. We hold marriage seminars. I'm going to give you a piece of one that I personally wrote today. You'll get part one of a seminar that I did. And I know that you've had one before and nobody showed up, and, you know, different people advertise different. But hopefully I get to come back and we offer this seminar to the community, maybe even do some training with you guys. But anyways, when I first met Preston, I take him to one of my Bible studies, and I'm from Makeover, West Virginia. Anybody know where that's at? Okay, for those who don't, the Hatfield and McCoy feud took place right there. And my grandfather is Jesse Layton Hatfield, all the way back to Devil Rance's brother. So I'm a direct descendant of those Hatfields. I'll share that with you this morning. So that's my accent, and I'm about as country as can be. I grew up in that area. Actually, living in Pennsylvania, it used to be thicker, so you wouldn't even be able to understand me today. So I take Preston on this Bible study, and we finish up the Bible study, and I'm going through everything. And I tell the people, I say, now next week, and remember, we just met each other. I said, next week, Bible study is going to blow your mind. I said, it's going to be mind-blowing. And so, and we get ready, and on the way out the door, I say it again, because I'm building them up for next week. I'm letting them know, hey, next week, you don't want to miss next week's Bible study. You better be here and answer the door, because next week, we're getting into prophecy, and I'm going to blow your mind. I'm excited to be here next week. We get in the car, and Preston has this look on his face of horror. And he looks over at me, and he says, what you mean you're going to blow up those people's minds? And I said, not literally, Preston. I'm not literally blowing up their minds. It's a figure of speech. But he thought I was threatening these people and that I was literally going to blow their minds. Now, I'm going to try to work with this thing here. Okay, so this seminar come about because about 5 years ago, I was getting ready to get a divorce, and I slept in the church that I was pastoring for about 19 days. And since it was financially burden church, it was around this time in December. I didn't turn the heat on because I didn't want to run the church's bill up. So for about 19 days, I slept on a cold church pew because me and my wife were separating. And so I set out to do everything I could to save my marriage, to read every book, to go to counseling, to do everything. And so beyond that, from a couple of years of counseling and reading every marriage book I could get my hands on, which is, I guess, why God allowed me to go through that, was to be able to write something that could actually reach people. But I've had people attend this seminar and say it's not just a marriage seminar, but it's a life seminar. So whether you're here married and you're struggling in that area, or you just want to learn some life lessons, that's what today's sermon is going to be. I call it Marriage Makeover. The second half that I won't be presenting today, my wife helped write this with me. And so we're going to get into that today. So This is what we're going to do. And so anyways, welcome to Marriage Makeover. If this was a seminar, this is a seminar that I do, and it's transforming your marriage now or your life now. Now, I believe by the time we're done this morning that you're going to leave here with enough knowledge to begin the process of transforming your life and your marriage for the better. And I'm going to share with you this morning some proven methods that will put you in the right direction right now. And I want you to know I'm not just some pastor that decided to write a marriage seminar, or this guy that has the perfect marriage and everybody's marriage should just be like mine. So I'm going to do a marriage seminar and I'm going to send out videos and all the churches can watch it and they can learn to be just exactly like me. No, I slept in a code church for 19 days. I've been through all the counseling and had the worst marriage ever. And today, if you would talk to my wife, she'll tell you I have the best husband ever and I love him more than I've ever loved him in my life. And so anyways, I didn't write a marriage program so everybody's marriage could be just like mine, because I'm still a mess and I'm still a work in progress. Now, this is shared with you because, again, I had my own personal experience, and I'm going to share some personal stories to help you make choices today that will forever change your life and your marriage for the better. Now, as a Christian and a pastor, I did decide to take some things from Amazing Facts little pamphlet too, because I think the Bible should be, it's the world's greatest psychology book is the Bible. Now, my wife holds a master's degree and she took psychology. She's about 6 classes away from being a licensed counselor herself. So she helps give me a lot of insights and write a lot of things. But I think the world's greatest psychology book is the Bible. And I think it was Albert Ellis, don't quote me on this if I'm getting it right. He was one of the godfathers or whatever, or the forefathers of psychology. And so they thought his work was just phenomenal. This guy has some of the best stuff we've ever read. Now, years later, when we look at his original works, we realize that even though he claimed to be an atheist, he ripped off the Bible for all of his ideals of how to have a sane mind and everything else. So anyways, so I believe the Bible has a lot to say about marriage and life, and to give us a better understanding of what God expects from us as spouses. We're going to start there this morning and get a biblical foundation, just a few verses. So let's start at the very beginning, Genesis 2:24. If I can remember to click here too, and we'll get it together. All right. For this reason, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife and become one flesh. So this is God telling us that when we get married, or maybe you're getting ready to get married, you're becoming one. It is you and your spouse versus the world. So it tells us we are to establish our own home with your spouse. And for those of you who have been married for a while, I want you to think back to the beginning of your marriage when all you wanted was to be to that special person. When that person you couldn't even see a flaw. They were just perfect. When the phone rang, you just picked up the phone. It's like, yes, it's them. Hi, how are you too? Oh, you just couldn't wait to hear their voice. That was the voice you wanted to hear. Your heart raced. Everything in you was just excited. They were the funniest, most handsome, most beautiful, smart, everything you ever wanted. And then what happened? How did we get where we are today? God said we're to become one flesh, and somewhere along the way, we started seeing all the negatives and forgot about all the good. When the verse says leave father and mother, this is saying for you to have a private marriage also. That means every time that I get mad at my wife, I ain't on the phone. You'll never believe what she said, Mom. I can't stand this. And Mom and Dad, we're just like, you know what? You should leave them, just come on home. That's my baby. You don't have to put up with that. And so that's the problem with getting other people involved in our marriage, your friends, whatever. They always have the best advice. Just leave them. Come and be miserable with us. But anyways, because when you do that, when we get other people involved in our marriage, it's not a professional counselor or a pastor. Not only are you upset with your spouse, now your friends, family, and everybody else is upset with them. And again, their advice is always, you can do better. Leave them. But you didn't think that when you first got together. You didn't think, oh, we can do better. You thought this is the one. This person is my everything. If you remember, you promised during those marriage vows to love this person until death do you part. All right, the Bible tells us things we should be thinking about. Philippians 4:8, and I'm going to have to look back throughout this to make sure I'm clicking in unison here. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence and anything worthy of praise, think about these things. Now, is this how we always think about other people? Is this how we always think about our husbands and wives? No, it's not. Wrong thinking will destroy your marriage. The devil wants you to have the worst thoughts. He wants you to throw in the towel. The devil wants you to give up and say there's no hope. We'll just accept whatever, and this is what it is. And another big thing, that one of the biggest mistakes that me and my wife have personally been guilty of is throwing out the big D word. People don't know that that is not an option. When you take that option off the table, that word should never be used. Thinking we can always get a divorce is not going to help your marriage. Or even saying, why don't we just divorce? And me and my wife said that 1,000,000 times over, I think, December the 3rd, we just celebrated 18 years together as dating. And then I think our 16th wedding anniversary is coming up. So I love that woman so much, I even celebrate the dating anniversary, because I remember the day that she finally said yes, because I had to pursue her for 6 months just to get a kiss. So that's a little advice for some of you young girls out there. Make a man wait. If he's really interested, he'll wait. He's really interested in you. So 6 months just to get a kiss from her. So our thoughts will decide our actions. And if we let negative thoughts in, negative actions are going to come out. So if I'm constantly thinking negative about my spouse or about even my friends, my family, then guess what? When I'm around them, negative things are going to come out. So find the good things about your spouse. You remember when they walked on water and they could never do anything wrong, and they were just the dream that you were waiting to show up. Think on these things. And this brings me to my next verse. And don't worry, this is not just Bible verse, Bible verse, Bible verse. If we had a secular crowd here, I would tell them I'm not here to just beat you over the head with the Bible. We're going to get in. But I do want to cover that God has the best advice on marriage, on friendships, on any relationship that you're going to have. God has the best advice. And these are just a few verses, but I could do a whole seminar just using Bible verses. So our next verse, 1 Peter 4:8. Above all, keep fervent in your love for one another, because love covers a multitude of sins. What does that actually mean, fervent love? The word fervent means without ceasing, to love always, even when they are the most annoying person ever. And I promise you, ladies, I'm the most annoying husband ever. I got the body of a 46-year-old man, but the mind of a 12-year-old boy. So I can be really annoying. I thought after 40, if you didn't grow up, you didn't have to. I don't know. Do I got 1 Peter 4:8? Nope, there we go. Now I can keep up. All right. So that means love without ceasing. And disagreement, and even when you have a disagreement and can't stand the ground they walk on. Even when you feel like throwing that D word out there. I'm going home to mom, or I'm going home to dad. This one is a hard one, because at that moment our emotions take over our logical thinking, and all we see is red. And we always got a one up. And you know, the smallest thing turns into the biggest thing. Next thing you know, we're arguing about stuff that happened a month ago, and it has nothing to do with the real issue. And they call that the crazy cycle. We start off with something little, and we get on that crazy cycle, and it starts spinning. And then I throw another jab, and it spins a little faster. And then she throws something back, and it spins a little faster. And next thing you know, the crazy cycle is going 1,000,000 miles an hour, and we don't know how to get off the crazy cycle, because we've already said so much stuff for one little thing that we're out of control now. Now it's like, I can't stand you, I hate you, I want a divorce, I'm going to my mom. That's how we get to that point. One little thing, because we allow our emotions to get to override our logic that this is the person I promised to love and keep forever. So how do we keep this love alive when we have these disagreements and we don't see red? Well, one tip is to continue dating. And don't just say, I don't have time. Pick a date night each week and go out and spend quality time. We make time for things that are important to us. And since our marriages are important, you'll find the time. Now, some people told me they can't afford to do this or that. Spending time together doesn't mean you have to go to a restaurant or to the movies or something, or you have to have money. You can pack a lunch and go on a hike to a local state park. You can just go for a walk around your neighborhood. You can go for a drive. You can just park and talk. You can play a board game together. And the best of all, you can study the Bible together. Find a book to read together. Me and my wife does that. We have separate books. We've learned that because she is one of those persons that when she's done with the book, it looks like it survived World War III. And I keep my stuff pristine, and I like everything to be neat and nothing written in it. And I like no creases. I like everything to be pristine. And if she asks for one of my books, I know that book's gone. It's destroyed. Like she had one book of mine, and she was highlighting things, and the whole book was just pretty much yellow. I was like, why didn't you just color it yellow? You didn't need to highlight this, but she destroyed. But studying a book together, so when we study a book together, we have to get 2 copies because it drives me crazy that she's destroying a book. And so she can destroy her book. I'm going to keep mine in excellent condition and take care of it and make sure it's put on the shelf. And that's some differences we have. But to her, it's just she's getting full use out of that bad boy. So going to church together is another great way to spend quality time and grow together. And some of the people in the church are only married because the church is the glue that's holding them together today. And no matter what, while on the date, keep your phones away. This is not we're going to sit and scroll. Keep your phones away. And the point of this is to outlove one another. If 2 people are trying to outlove one another, then it's impossible to be fighting all the time because I'm trying to one-up her. I'm going to love her better than she loves me. You better believe it. I'm going to show her how much I love her. If you want to get mad and you want to do something, do that. I want to show her how much I love her. So the point of this, 2 people trying to outlove each other are giving their all. It's going to work out. It's hard to be mad at someone you're giving all your love to. Imagine praying good things for your spouse in your marriage every day out loud. That was one thing that changed my marriage. I began praying for my wife out loud. It's hard to say, God, please bless this woman. Give her peace. Give her patience. Please take care of her. Please help her, God, throughout the next day. And then stand up and say something mean to her. It's hard to argue with somebody you're praying for. So if you're arguing with your spouse or even a friend or anybody in the world, start praying for them because you can't be mean to somebody you're just praying all these good things for. So, and we sure want good things for our spouses because we're one, and when good things happen for them, it happens for us also. And I don't even know if I'm on the right slide. Probably not. I keep forgetting to hit both buttons. Okay. Now, we know the divorce statistics are 50%. And so this is like the craziest thing that people still even get married with these statistics. Could you imagine if I told you I have a ride you go on, but everybody who gets on it, half of them is going to die? How many of you are going to sign up and say, sign me up, I want to ride that? Nobody's going to sign up for that. It's like, I need you to sign this waiver here. We're going to let you go down this sled, down this hill. You're going to ride this ride. By the way, half the people who ride this die. Well, that's the statistics for marriage since 1970. It's 50% of the people who get married are going to get divorced. And that number hasn't changed since 1970. And the reason is because people stopped getting married. They started shacking up. So if we counted those people who lived together for 3, 4, 5 years and then split up, the number would be more like 75%. But we don't count those because they're not actually married. So people stop getting married. But this is the rate. 50%, half the people who get married are getting divorced. Nobody would sign up for anything like that. Now, I just recently found a statistic that I was blown away by and could not even believe it was true. I had to check multiple sources. How many divorces do you think are amongst those couples who go to church, study the Bible together, and pray with and for each other? I'm talking real, fully devoted to the church, devoted to God. These couples that are praying for each other every day and are actually really following Jesus. How many divorces do you think they have? The number is 1 in 1,500 or 0.0667%. This is the one quick fix that will work more than any tip I give you this morning. This is it. And I'll share this again before we leave out of here, but it give you a chance to make some decisions about your future. If you're having problems with a friend or anybody else, start praying for each other, going to church together, spending time with each other. Get off the electronics. Keep your friends, your family out of your marriage, out of your life. Don't even talk about your friends to your friends. That's the hardest one, biting that tongue. Keep everybody else out of your personal life unless, I said, it's a professional counselor or a pastor or somebody that is not going to go spread your stuff all the way around and be judging with you and saying bad things. All right. 1 Corinthians 13, 4 and 7, we call these the love verses. This is the biblical definition of love. Everybody familiar with this? Love is patient, love is kind, it's not jealous, it does not brag, it's not arrogant, it does not act disgracefully, it does not seek its own benefit, it's not provoked, does not keep an account of wrong suffered, it does not rejoice in unrighteousness, but rejoices with the truth. It keeps every confidence, it believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. Now I just want you to look at this verse for a second. This is the definition of love. Don't raise your hand. Answer within yourself. We say we love our spouses. This is the definition of love. We say we love our friends. I don't know, for me personally, how are you adding up? I mean, I told my wife I loved her, and this is the definition of love. So for me personally, when I looked at this, I really fell short. I didn't really love my wife like I thought or said I did, because according to the biblical definition of love, I was giving her none of those things. So I really fell short. And so now we're going to go to choice skills. And I don't know where I'm at here. Maybe I'm on target here. We'll see. It's hard to remember to click two things. All right, one of the greatest things that I've learned about marriage was that I have a choice. I have a choice. And that just seems like that should be elementary, right? Shouldn't we already know this? And it seems like something to be obvious, and I find that people like me do not realize this, that we have a choice. And here's how I learned this. My wife and I went to our first marriage counseling session at a place as a man that I didn't want to be, because I don't want some other guy poking around in my business, hearing things about me. That's embarrassing. And as a man, I believe I can fix anything, and it's my job to fix everything. And I don't want that guy poking his nose into my marriage. Who is he? So I didn't want to be there. But I love my wife, and that was the only thing that was going to calm her down and lead me to be able to even speak to her, because she was so angry. Madder than a hornet's what we call it where I'm from. I don't know if they say that down here, but she was madder than a hornet. And so anyways, because I love my wife so much, and I would do anything to fix these problems, I agreed to reluctantly go. The first session is going on, and we sat down, and the guy says, well, what's going on? Now, I knew this guy. He had attended one of my Revelation seminars, him and his wife. So it was embarrassing even more to be there now. The guy who had taught the guy the Bible is now here asking, can you fix my marriage? And again, I didn't want to be there. Did I tell you I didn't want to be there? And you know, when I do marriage seminars like the one I'm giving you a piece of this morning, it's the guys who don't want to be there. And so you'll sometimes have the women show up. And so I didn't want to be there. And when we sat down, he said, what's going on? So I said, buddy, I'm trying. And he responded, he said, why are you trying? And I'm like, what a stupid question. This guy gets paid to ask me stupid questions. What do you mean, why am I trying? I'm trying because I love my wife. I actually said this to him. I was not nice. I was rude as can be. What do you mean, why am I trying? I'm paying you to ask me stupid questions. Why wouldn't I try, you idiot? I love my wife. This is how bad I was. This is what I'm saying to the guy that's supposed to be saving my marriage, my bad attitude. Why am I trying? I'm paying this guy $150 an hour to ask me stupid questions. Why am I trying? What a stupid question. I'm trying because I'll do anything to save my marriage. You remember this morning, I got 7 kids. The child support alone would have killed me. I'm kidding. That's not the reason. But I do love my wife. I have to throw some jokes in there. So this guy throws a book from his desk. He throws it on the floor, and he says, I want you to try to pick this book up. And I'm sitting there, and I said, what? I'm a United States Marine. This guy does not know. I may be little. This guy does not know. He's going to try to embarrass me in front of my wife. This guy's going to get knocked out. He don't know what he's dealt out here. Try to pick that book up. And I locked my eyes on his, and I was thinking, there's no way this guy's embarrassing me in front of my wife. I locked my eyes on his, and I glanced. I only caught a glance of where that book was at. And soon as he tried to push me over and embarrass me in front of my wife, he was done for, just like that remote. Oh. Anyways, I was ready. So I go over and I pick the book up. The guy never budges. And I hand him the book, and he says, okay, you can step down now. He says, I sat down and I'm like, okay. He says, you failed. This guy's nuts. This is a waste of $150. Not only is he asking me stupid questions, I just literally picked the book up, gave it to him, and now he's telling me I failed. He says, you failed. And again, my mind goes back to what an idiot. This guy's getting paid to say stupid things. And he begins to tell me a piece of information that not only changed me as a person, but at that instant, I had information to change my marriage right then and there. No long, drawn-out process. This one simple step would make a world of difference. He tells me, I told you to try to pick that book up, but you chose to pick it up. Now, in your marriage, instead of trying, why don't you choose to start doing what you know is right? He began to explain that everything you do is a choice. Up until that point, for some reason, it never dawned on me that I had a choice. I was trying to help with the kids. I was trying to help around the house. I was trying to say sweet things. I was trying to have a date with my wife. I was trying to be a kind, loving man. I was trying to always give her a kind answer. I was trying to do all these things. You know what trying means? It means I'm not doing anything. That's what trying is. Trying means I'm not actually doing anything. He said, why don't you choose to speak kindly to your spouse? Why don't you choose to help out around the house? Why don't you choose to start doing these things? And up until that point, again, it was just like I never even knew I had a choice. So this guy that I thought was stupid now just saved my marriage in almost one session. Just by throwing a book on the floor and challenging my manhood, which is what I thought he was doing. And I was like, wow. So that's what I did. I began to choose. Who would have thought that the simple act of choice would make all the difference in my marriage? Instead of trying to help out around the house, again, I put in real effort. When I seen something that need picked up, I picked it up. When I seen the dishes need done, I started doing them. I seen the dishwasher need loaded, I helped with laundry. I got up every morning and I made the bed. Used to be, I'm not making the bed. I never wanted the bed made. I'm a man. I'm just going to get back in it and it's going to get messed up again. Why? What's the point of making a bed? That's stupid. I'm going to make it up so I can tear it back up. That was never nothing I wanted, but she likes things to be neat. So I'd get up. I always got up after her, so I started making the bed. I started doing these things. I started choosing to get things done. And this is not just in your marriage, but this is in life. If you're trying to do things, stop. Because you're not doing anything. You can go around try forever. You're trying to make it to church, then that means you're not really interested in being here. Choose to be here. You're trying to do whatever it is, then you're not really interested in doing it. You want to grow this church? You want to build this church? Then quit trying and let's start choosing to get busy and get things done. There's no reason these pews can't be full. But you got to sit down and choose to put a plan into place of what you're going to do and be purposeful about it. You do that, you'll see souls start being saved for the kingdom. But you can sit here and try and pray and hope things just work out. It's like the old guy that was on the flood came. Guy come by in a car and said, "Get in, the flood's coming. Lord will save me." He just kept waiting for the Lord to save him. And he gets up to heaven. Finally, a helicopter comes by and he says, "Lord, why didn't you save me?" And God says, "I sent 3 cars, a couple of boats, and a helicopter, and you wouldn't get on them." We got to get purposeful in what we do. Quit trying, start choosing. And this is with your friendships, this is with your spouses, this is with your friends. This is everything in life. You can start today to choose. And spouses, you can help your husband. You can say, "Hey, stop trying. Let's choose to get this done. Let's choose to have the best marriage that we can possibly have." And this works with friends. Let's choose to have the best friendship that we can possibly have. You can put the work in and you can choose to get these things done. It's a choice. Our next section came, and we were still working things out and still had disagreements. And the counselor, where I didn't want to be, says, "So what's going on this week?" And without missing a beat, I said, "She makes me mad." And one thing I like about this guy, he was direct. He didn't beat around the bush, didn't waste any time. So he said, I said, "She makes me mad." And he says, "How exactly does she control your emotions?" He said, "Does she have a remote control? What's going on here? I've never heard of a human being having control of another person's emotions. Could it be that you're choosing to be mad?" "Okay, touche, Doc. I'm choosing to be mad." He said, "Well, why don't you choose not to be mad and say sweet things to your wife?" "Okay, I got it. I got it. I can choose to not be mad. I don't have to be angry. I can choose to be loving. I can choose to be sweet," which has really worked in my favor, by the way, because my wife still hasn't mastered it like I have. And so when she gets upset and she'll raise her voice to me, I just stand there and be the sweetest little husband you ever met. And I know later she has to apologize to me. So I let her have to do all the apologies now. Because there ain't no way I'm not choosing to raise my voice or say anything mean. I'm going to let her say the mean things when she gets all emotional, and then I'm going to reap the benefits later. I don't know. Yeah, mad, angry. These are all choices. I worked at a halfway house with prisoners, and this was one of the skills I taught them about choice, because most of the reason that they're in prison or whatever is because they allowed their emotions to dictate their actions. And so they did something they shouldn't or said something they shouldn't, which led into some kind of altercation where they ended up in prison. Learning to control our emotions, that's not something you'll do overnight. This takes practice. I've been working at this for like 5 years now. I about got it mastered to where if she says something mean, I'm going to say, "Honey, I just love you so much." Let's go on. Again, I didn't know I had a choice. Human nature is always to respond with the way you feel. And with your actions and words. And we sometimes scream talking. That's what I used to do. If we talk a little louder, then my point will be heard a little more, right? If she says something, I'll just scream a little louder her. She screams a little louder than me. And then where we're at, we're back on the crazy cycle. And the more we scream and the more things we say, the faster it spins. And next thing you know, it's spinning so fast, I can't even get off of it because I'm going to break my leg. Now I've destroyed it. I had real communication skills here. This doctor was teaching me, and I didn't even know it. What a knucklehead I was. Newfound information that I had to work on the coming week when I get upset or have a disagreement. Choose to be calm. This is what I'm telling you. You have a choice. We don't have to scream at each other. We can be calm. We can be loving. We can say nice things even. Remember, this is the person that I thought walked on water. And now I'm saying something mean to this person? What happened? I knew she was the only person on earth that I needed to be truly happy. And in the beginning, I would have given anything just to spend 5 minutes with her, just to hold her hand. Just when the phone rung again, my heart would race. Yes, it's Rebecca. I could not wait to make her my wife so I could be mean to her. Can't wait to marry you and treat you bad, not help out. The plan was never to make her my wife so I could be angry at her and raise my voice at her and make her feel less than or ignore her or not listen to her or not spend time with her. The plan was always that she would be my princess, that she would be my whole world. But here we are years later, and I sure wasn't choosing to make her my princess. Yeah. Husbands and wives, you leave here this morning, everybody here, with a choice on where you go and what you do from here. You too have a choice. Will you rekindle love and affection? Or are you going to go in a different direction? One of the greatest gifts God gave us is free will. And that's choice. Will you choose to bite your tongue when you're upset and think about what you're going to say? Will you choose to remember that the person you married was once your everything? Everything you ever wanted, and treat them as such. As your most prized, as a prized possession. This is all I ever wanted. It's the most valuable thing that exists in my life in the world. I'm not saying your spouse is a possession, but sometimes we treat possessions better than our spouses or other people. We end up taking care of things better than other people. Will you choose to remember that the person you married was once everything you ever wanted and treat them as such? Back in the beginning, when just looking in their eyes was all you could think about, when just reaching across and holding their hand was a rush. You guys remember that, those married couples, when just holding hands was the greatest feeling? Your heart beat rose. You didn't take it for granted. It's all you ever wanted. I can give you piles of information this morning, and I wish I had time to do part 2 for you. And I want to allow you to spend a lifetime together and start making these decisions, not just in your relationships, but with your church, with everything you do in life. You have choices. You guys are getting ready to make a choice on what to do with your church. Be purposeful. You got 2 choices. Either you keep doing what you're doing, which is the definition of insanity, obviously isn't working. Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Or we get purposeful. We sit down, we make a plan, we save our church, we build outreach programs. And Preston has my numbers. He knows my skills that God has given me. I don't try to sound prideful, but God likes me a lot. And He takes care of me. And so we need to sit down and create a calendar and plan to be purposeful in what we're going to do to win people for the kingdom of Jesus, because that's what we're called for anyway. Nobody was called to come here and sit in a seat. If you're taking notes, write down, I have a choice. And that's your go from here on out. Now, if you're a little slow to catch on to things like me, I come up with a reminder. I decided that I was going to be Superman. She married, I wanted to be the Superman that she married. I was going to choose to be the man she needed and she wanted. I ordered me some Superman shirts. I ordered me Superman stickers. And I wore those shirts. My wife thought I was silly that a grown man would be running around in a Superman shirt. I'm not even a real Superman fan. I mean, I've seen the shows, but the movies, and I forgot about it. But what she didn't know was those stickers and those shirts reminded me to be Superman each and every day, for her to speak softly to her, to quit trying to help around the house, to quit trying to show up and be there. It reminded me every day that I put that big S on my chest. And I ordered, like, she thought I was crazy. I ordered like 10 Superman shirts. I got on Amazon, and every kind of Superman shirt there was. My MacBook Pro, right on the top of it, had Superman stickers. So even if I'm on the computer, all around the house, Superman stickers. And she didn't know what's going on. Why's this guy, this is my husband, he's gone Superman crazy. But every time I wore that big S on my chest, that reminded me that I'm her Superman. And when she talks to me, I will be sweet. I will say kind things to her. I will be everything that she's ever desired me to be. And no man will ever compete with me because I'm Superman. I'm the man of steel. Now you can choose whatever you want. I got a buddy that I worked with his marriage, and he said he wanted to be the Incredible Hulk. So he bought green shirts, and he bought Hulk shirts, and he bought Hulk stickers. I told him, just don't Hulk smash. But he decided that he wanted to be a superhero. And guys, all of us can be superheroes, but you got to choose it. Which superhero are you going to be? And you remind yourself each day that I'm a superhero. I'm going to be the best that my spouse ever asked for. I'm going to be the best that my church ever asked for. And I'm going to be the best that God could ever ask for. I'm giving Him my best. No more slacking. No more playing church. No more playing husband. But I'm going to choose to be purposeful in everything that we do. Well, which brings up my next part of the seminar before the break, and we're going to go have some potluck. There's an ancient art that has been lost, and I want to share this with you real quick, and I'll close out. And I'm sorry that I'm long-winded, but you do got to bear with me. I did drive 3.5 hours to speak to you, so I'm going to be like Paul today as getting ready to depart on tomorrow. I want to give you as much information as I can before I leave. So this is the last part. There's an ancient art that has been lost through the last generations, and it's the art of communication. This was also through marriage books and my counseling. One thing I personally had to learn was the demanding and preferring philosophy of life. And our bad feelings may very well be the consequence of the way we think about ourselves in life. We may demanding things of ourselves and others and the world around us. So what do I mean by communication? The words we use when we speak tell us the type of philosophy we use. Either it will be demanding or it will be preferring. And I hate to say this generation and the world we live in now is a very demanding world in the words they use. And these are the words we use to speak with our spouses every day. And it makes a difference in the outcome of the conversation. So let's start with the demanding words. Not to use. Number one, you. That's the most demanding word there is. Because as soon as my wife says you, I'm ready to fight. My defenses is up. How dare you? You is the number one word that people use with others, because as soon as I say you need or you should, well, who are you? You don't know what I need. You don't know what I should and shouldn't do. Who are you to be talking to me? And now I'm ready to fight. Just from the word you. It's a demanding word. And as soon as my wife says you need to, you don't tell me what I need to do. You. That's a demanding word. When you start with that sentence, you're opening up for World War III to break out at any time. Because the defenses come up. As soon as your spouse says you. Now here's a list of demanding words. You must. You should. And when we was going to counseling, my counselor said something that cracked me up, because I was like, well, she should, and she should do this. And my counselor looks at me and he says, Chris, you just should all over yourself. I said, what? He said, you should all over yourself. He said, what do you mean she should? Isn't she her own person? Doesn't she have a choice? It's a demanding word. Ought to. Have to. Obliged to. Necessary to. You can make a note of the demanding, preferring philosophies of life and go home. I'm just going to touch on them lightly this morning because I covered a little bit more in part 2 that you won't get this morning because we're running out of time. But these are words that you got to erase from your vocabulary. Nobody should have to do anything. Nobody ought to or have to do anything. My wife is not my property. She is her own person. She don't have to do anything. She shouldn't do anything. All these words are demanders. Regardless of what you've learned or what you've been told, you have a choice to decide how you approach life. Even though you've been thinking a particular way most of your life, like I said, it's not an overnight thing. I had to learn this. Lots of practice. Try not to fall victim to the belief that that's just the way I am, or that's the way I've always thought and I can't change now. Now, all these words are demanding, regardless of what you've learned. Let's go on. Now, let's look at the preferring. Now, if I tell my wife, you should be home at 5 o'clock, she's like, who is he to tell me what to do? Right? But what if I say, honey, I really wish that you could make it home by 5 so we could have supper together? Does that sound like we're fighting? No. If I put I instead of you in front of most of my sentences, it changes the whole outcome of communication. Honey, I would prefer if we ate here. Instead of I think we should, you should come with me here. No, honey, I really wish to, I desire to, I want to, I like to. Honey, I feel it would be better if. You see how just these words, when carrying on a disagreement with my wife or a friend or anybody, this is not just spouses, this is anybody you're communicating with. Changing to be able to speak like this changes the whole outcome. World War III is the bombs are not dropping. Honey, I really wish. Who's going to be mad about that? Honey, I really wish that we could go here instead of there this weekend. I'm owning part of it. Her defenses is not up. Instead of, well, I think you should just let me go where I want to go. Honey, I really wish that we could go here. You see, communication, loving, calm, choosing to speak loving, calm to my spouse. This is the preferring and demanding philosophy of life. The words we use, they have meaning. It would be better if. Look these up, write them down, start practicing them. You can change yourself. In 21 days, you can create new habits. Psychology proves in 21 days, you can create a new habit. You can change the way you speak in 21 days. Practice these for 21 days, they'll start coming out automatically. Honey, I really wish that. Honey, I would prefer if. Take you out of your vocabulary. Then you start speaking this way to everybody. We use these in conversations with our spouses, and I'll take some practice. But again, the more we use preferring words, the easier it becomes. It becomes a part of who we are. If I say to my spouse, you must be home by 7, I'm demanding. Defenses go up. But I'd prefer if you were home by 7, honey. I love you. Now I'm not fighting. Look at the demanding words one more time. If I can get them up there. Nope. Let me go back. Demanding words. These are words we have to remove from our vocabulary. These words bring the defenses up. If you need to, write them down. You can look them up online. Write down the preferring, demanding philosophy of life. This is going to help you in every area of your life as you communicate with your spouse. Taking these words out and replacing it with these words. Demanding, must, should, ought to, have to, obliged to, necessary to, and that big word, you. I hate when somebody starts a sentence with you. You need, no, you don't get to tell me what to do. But you can say, wouldn't it be better if? I feel, demanding, preferring. Remember, it's a choice. Are you going to choose to be, this is what I'm ending with, and we're going to go, this is it. At this moment, we take a break, and then we come back for part 2. So this is the end of what I have for you today. My appeal to you is, this is your guys' church. We're going to choose to just roll over and die? We're going to choose to keep doing the same thing over and over again? Or are we going to choose to do things differently? You guys get to choose whatever you do. It's all choices. We make choices every day. We're going to choose to be kind to our spouses, to others. Are we going to choose how we speak? Are we going to choose to quit trying? I can imagine the board meeting. Well, we tried this and we tried that and we've tried this, which means you didn't do anything because trying doesn't accomplish anything. Your head elder said, well, we did a marriage seminar, and I didn't mean to sound prideful, but I said, well, I didn't do it. I didn't do the advertising for it. When I'm pastoring a church, I'll try everything, and I fail. Some of the greatest people in the world that become the richest billionaires failed 20 times before they got successful. But I never gave up. That's the thing, don't give up. Well, I did seminars for churches that were complete flops. You know what I did? I just readjusted. Okay, we won't do that one. Next. We go that one, we go that one, we go that one. I keep working my calendar. I got a church in Pennsylvania right now that does a chili cook-off now every year. The mayor, the fire chief, the police chief, they're the judges. They give away prizes and they have a chili cook-off. They struggled a little bit because people were bringing hamburger into the thing, but I was like, we're meeting the general public where they're at. But now they're meeting all kinds of people. My Tollgate church here in West Virginia that I was the pastor of, they started doing a community free yard sale every year. That was something we put on the calendar. First year, we had about 50, 60 people, I think it was, show up and get free stuff. As we're doing our spring cleaning, we brought everything to the church. We set up a resource table, and they gave everything away. It was called a free yard sale. We even made an event online. The second year, they had over 130 people come through. And the third year, it gets even better. You got to make a calendar. Put your marriage seminar on there. Put your evangelistic meeting on there. Every year, the community is starting to expect you guys to do these things. So they say, you remember that free sale that the Adventist used to do every year? You remember that chili cook? Whatever it is you come up with. These are just ideas that I did for my churches. But you remember that chili cook-off that the Adventist church did every year? Man, I missed that. Then you can answer the question, if we close down today, would the community miss you? Yes, because you was doing so much for the community. You had so many events. Set up bounce houses, have a big kids' day, bring in a petting zoo, have some camels. It's completely free. Invite the whole community. Set up a resource table. Give out steps to Christ and sign people up for Bible study. There's so many things that we can do, but quitting and trying is not an option. Choices, guys, choices. I'm going to continue to be Superman from here on out because I am, and you guys decide who you're going to be. Whether it's Wonder Woman, whether it's Superman, whether it's Hulk, whether it's Batman or whatever. That's my appeal to you today. That's my sermon today. I wish I had time to do part two. I don't. Part two was written mostly by my wife, and she's smarter than I am, so it's even better. But hopefully we schedule with your pastor, Preston. We know each other personally to come back, and we'll do the seminar for the public. And I'll take care of the advertising and stuff. And got a good flyer that God has worked through me to design. And I'm thankful. So this is, I really believe that this is good because God wrote it. Because when I was reading some of it back, I was like, man, that's pretty good. You did great, God. So, and He worked through my wife. So thank you guys for the opportunity to speak to you today. I hope that you've grown from this somewhere in your life and that you're going to go forth here. And spouses and church members, remind each other, choices, choose. And God bless you. We're going to sing our closing hymn. It's my favorite hymn out of the whole hymn book, Marching to Zion. And that's one of my favorites. Besides It Is Well With My Soul, which was on the list, but you guys didn't have enough room for 3 songs. But
Come we that love the Lord, and let our joys be known. Join in a song with sweet accord. Join in a song with sweet accord. And thus around the throne, and thus around Zion. Beautiful, beautiful Zion. We're marching upward to Zion, the beautiful city of God. Let those refuse to sing who never knew our God. The children of the heavenly King, the children of the heavenly King, may speak their joys abroad, may speak their joys abroad. We're marching to Zion, beautiful, beautiful Zion. We're marching upward to Zion, the beautiful city of God. The hill of Zion yields 1,000 sacred sweets. Before we reach the heavenly fields, before we reach the heavenly fields, to walk the golden streets, or walk the golden streets. We're marching to Zion, beautiful, beautiful Zion. We're marching upward to Zion, the beautiful city of God. Then let our songs abound and every tear be dry. We're marching through Emmanuel's ground. We're marching through Emmanuel's ground to fairer worlds on high, to fairer worlds on high. We're marching to Zion, beautiful, beautiful Zion. We're marching upward to Zion, the beautiful city of God.
Amen. Our Heavenly Father, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here today. Father, thank you for being able to have the freedom still yet to be able to worship you openly.
Amen.
And uplift your name, Father. Father, we praise you for all the little things in life. Father, thank you that we have shoes to put on our feet, a roof over our head, that we sleep in a bed, and just all the things we take for granted. Father, thank you for electricity. And just, Father, we can't praise you enough. We got enough things that we could praise that could never leave our lips throughout the day. Father, I pray for each person here that as they go forward, Father, and as this church goes forward, that they're making choices that will honor you, Father, that's going to uplift you, and that is going to be able to reach the lost souls around this area. Father, we love you. We thank you. We ask that you bless the potluck, if I'm supposed to do that this time. Bless the food, bless the fellowship, Father. Traveling mercies to those who are going home. And Father, we just praise your name, and we ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.